Hi guys, Faylene Amir here. Today I'm doing a small cooking tutorial on how to cook quinoa. Quinoa is very healthy for you and a lot of people have never heard of it. I know that for the longest time I had no clue what it was and was terrified to eat it because it looked strange and didn't smell very good. However, I have found that quinoa has very little flavor and readily absorbs anything that you put on it. It's wonderful, delicious. It has about the same texture as cooked rice, and again, very healthy for you and super cheap, full of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, the whole bit. On my website yesterday, I posted a recipe inspired by Shay Carl on his Shay Laws channel. He did this quinoa taco-like salad, and the recipe is wonderful. I suggest you check it out. There will be links in the description to my website. As always, it's my username with .com on the end. However, I had people ask me if I could show them how to make quinoa. Even though I described it, some people were still a little unsure, and I'm going to make quinoa for you guys today. Super simple, takes about 25 minutes, and you can have enough quinoa to last the entire week. So let's get started. So to do this recipe, you're going to need only a few things. For starters, obviously you're going to need your quinoa. The simplest way is 2 cups quinoa, 3 cups of water. Okay, that'll give you perfectly fluffy and just the perfect moisture in your quinoa. Now what I do is I don't have a strainer small enough to catch these tiny grains. Okay, quinoa is a very small gluten-free grain. Okay, if I put this in my strainer, it would fall through. So what I do is I put it in a bowl. Now you need to wash quinoa because it's very dusty and it has enzyme inhibitors on the outside. It makes it taste very bitter, slimy. If you don't do this step, you won't like quinoa. And for the first couple times, I couldn't understand why anybody would want to eat this until I figured out how to wash it properly. Okay, so take this bowl and add hot water to it, as hot as you can stand to stick your hand in, okay? Put just enough water in there that it starts to clump up. Now, you're going to notice that as you get your hands into this, it kind of foams up. That's the enzyme inhibitors. So this step, very important. I take my hand and I kind of rub the grains in my hand like that, right? Kind of like you're washing rice, okay? Just keep rubbing. You're going to notice the water change to a yellowish color. It might have some dirt come off, might look dusty. That's what you want, okay? So you just got to do this for about 30 seconds. Now, you can just do the tip method, which is tip it out a little bit at a time so you don't lose all the grains. I have a small strainer that is small enough to catch the grains, so I just hold it over that and tip. I don't tip the quinoa in there, I just do this to catch any stragglers. And rinse again just to be sure. You might need to rinse 3 or 4 times depending on the supplier you bought from. Another method is you can take the quinoa and rub them in between your hands like this. Second wash, again, about 30 seconds. And again, strain the quinoa. Now if your water is running clear at this point, you can stop here. If not, rinse 1 or 2 more times until the water does run clear out of the bowl. Try to get as much water out as you can, and then there's your rinsed and ready to be cooked quinoa. Okay, so the next step is to set your stove on high or medium high. I am using my Dutch oven for this, and to my Dutch oven I'm going to add 3 cups of warm tap water. Some people like to add salt or use like vegetable broth or chicken broth or any kind of stock. I just use water. I find that I would rather season the quinoa later, but you can always add seasoning now. Let this come up to a full boil before we add the quinoa. So once your water comes up to a full boil, you're going to want to take your washed quinoa and put it in the water. You might need to use a spatula to scrape it out of the bowl or to get it out of the strainer. And stir. Let it come back up to a full boil like that. And put your lid on the pot. Now you're going to want to turn this down to a simmer. On an electric stove, that would be between 2 and 3. Same thing on with gas. Now I want you to set your timer for 5 minutes. Do not open the lid for 5 minutes. So it's been 5 minutes. And you're gonna notice the water turns yellow. That's normal, don't be concerned. And your quinoa is already gonna plump up a lot. You might even see some tails starting to form on the quinoa. Again, totally normal. Now I want you to stir this really well. Make sure you get along the bottom. At this point, it shouldn't be sticking at all, so you're right where you want to be. Now I want you to replace the lid and set your timer for 10 minutes. Really guys, this is easy. So 10 minutes has gone by, and now your quinoa is going to look like this. You're going to say all the water's gone, and this is perfect. You're also going to notice that it has little white tails, and it's very plump and very fluffy. Now I want you to stir, kind of scraping the bottom, making sure you get everything. If there's a little bit of sticking, that's normal. That means you just had your heat up a tad bit too high. And if you're to this stage where everything is fluffy and all the water's gone, you can turn off the heat. Take the lid and put it back on. So I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes, and then I will show you the finished product. So after 15 minutes of resting, this is what you're going to have. It's going to be perfectly fluffy, no water left, not really any steam is still coming off of this. Just use a spatula or a fork to fluff it and break up clumps. And here you go. Very easy. Every grain is nice and fluffy, and when you try it, should have just a little bit of texture left. It shouldn't be completely soggy. If it's soggy, you've cooked it too long with too much water. Okay? No bitter flavor, and it really doesn't have any flavor at all. Okay? Very mild. Now, what can you use this on? Well, like I said, you can check out my website. I got a pretty good recipe on there from yesterday. Sky's the limit. You could simply put something on this like Mrs. Dash, or you could do ketchup, okay, or soy sauce. Simple, kind of like rice. And that's it, guys. I hope you will try this. It's definitely easy, and you no longer have to be afraid of this weird grain that most people have never heard of, possibly before watching this video. Not only is this high in fiber and gluten-free, it's lower in calories and full of vitamins and minerals, and a lot healthier than eating something like wheat products or anything else, you know, and it fills you up. So again, try it and visit my website for the written instructions and recipes and much more at www.bayleneamir.com. Thanks guys, bye.